We are living in tremendous times. Bible prophecy is being fulfilled right before our eyes. The final pieces are beginning to come together. The Pope has recently released his latest appeal to humanity on the climate crisis we are facing. He has all the answers. The Pope is demanding urgent, drastic, and immediate action on the climate issue before it is too late. Just have a look at some of the things he is calling for in his latest document, Laudate Deum, which is a follow-up to his 2015 encyclical, Laudato Si. This is sensational. The title of the letter reads, Apostolic Exhortation, Laudate Deum, of the Holy Father Francis to all the people of goodwill on the climate crisis. And here's some of his main points in his document. Check this out. 8 years have passed since I published the encyclical letter Laudato Si, when I wanted to share with all of you, my brothers and sisters of our suffering planets, my heartfelt concerns about the care of our common home. Yet with the passage of time, I have realized that our responses have not been adequate, while the world in which we live is collapsing and may be nearing the breaking point. The reflection and information that we can gather from these past 8 years allow us to clarify and complete what we were able to state some time ago. For this reason, and because the situation is now even more pressing, I have wished to share these pages with you. In recent years, some have chosen to deride these facts. They bring up allegedly solid scientific data, like the fact that the planet has always had and will have periods of cooling and warming. They forget to mention another relevant datum, that what we are presently experiencing is an unusual acceleration of warming, at such a speed that it will take only one generation, not centuries or millennia, in order to verify it. Despite all attempts to deny, conceal, gloss over, or relativize the issue, the signs of climate change are here and increasingly evident. No one can ignore the fact that in recent years we have witnessed extreme weather phenomenon, frequent periods of unusual heat, droughts, and other cries of protest on the part of the earth. I feel obliged to make these clarifications, which may appear obvious because of certain dismissive and scarcely reasonable opinions that I encounter, even within the Catholic Church. Yet we can no longer doubt that the reason for the unusual rapidity of these dangerous changes is a fact that cannot be concealed: the enormous novelties that have to do with unchecked human intervention on nature in the past 2 centuries. We have confirmed that in the last 50 years, the temperature has risen at an unprecedented speed, greater than any time over the past 2,000 years. It is no longer possible to doubt the human anthropic origin of climate change. Some effects of the climate crisis are already irreversible. The climate crisis endangers the life of many other beings. The other creatures of this world have stopped being our companions along the way and have become instead our victims. Human life is incomprehensible and unsustainable without other creatures. For as part of the universe, all of us are linked by unseen bonds and together form a kind of universal family, a sublime communion which fills us with a sacred, affectionate and humble respect. We are now unable to halt the enormous damage we have caused. We barely have time to prevent even more tragic damage. We are approaching a critical point. There is no turning back. Consequently, a broader perspective is urgently needed. What is being asked of us is nothing other than a certain responsibility for the legacy we will leave behind once we pass from this world. We can add that the COVID-19 pandemic brought out the close relation of human life with that of other living beings and with the natural environment. But in a special way, it confirmed that what happens in one part of the world has repercussions on the entire planet. This allows me to reiterate 2 convictions that I repeat over and over again. Everything is connected, and no one is saved alone. Wow, is that what the Bible says? It continues to be regrettable that global crises are being squandered when they could be the occasions to bring about beneficial changes. This is what happened in the 2007-2008 financial crisis, and again in the COVID-19 crisis. For the actual strategies developed worldwide in the wake of those crises fostered greater individualism, less integration, and increased freedom for the truly powerful who always find a way to escape unscathed. It is chilling to realize that the capacities expanded by technology have given those with the knowledge and especially the economic resources to use them an impressive dominance over the whole of humanity and the entire world. Never has humanity had such power over itself. Yet nothing ensures that it will be used wisely, particularly when we consider how it is currently being used. In whose hands does all this power lie, or will it eventually end up? It is extremely risky for a small part of humanity to have it. We need to rethink, among other things, the question of human power, its meaning and its limits. For our power has frenetically increased in a few decades. We have made impressive and awesome technological advances, and we have not realized that at the same time we have turned into highly dangerous beings, capable of threatening the lives of many beings and our own survival. Our world has become so multipolar and at the same time so complex that a different framework for effective cooperation is required, especially in order to consolidate respect for the most elementary human rights, social rights, and the protection of our common home. It is a matter of establishing global and effective rules that can permit providing for this global safeguarding. When we talk about the possibility of some form of world authority regulated by law, we need not necessarily think of a personal authority. We are speaking above all of more effective world organizations, equipped with the power to provide for the global common goods, the elimination of hunger and poverty, and the sure defense of fundamental human rights. The issue is that they must be endowed with real authority, in such a way as to provide for the attainment of certain essential goals. In this way, there could come about a multilateralism that is not dependent on changing political conditions or the interests of a certain few and possesses a stable efficacy. For several decades now, representatives of more than 190 countries have met periodically to address the issue of climate change. Despite the many negotiations and agreements, global emissions continue to increase. Proposals tending to ensure a rapid and effective transition to alternative and less polluting forms of energy made no progress. If we are confident in the capacity of human beings to transcend their petty interests and to think in bigger terms, we can keep hoping that COP28 will allow for decisive acceleration of energy transition. We must move beyond the mentality of appearing to be concerned but not having the courage needed to produce substantial changes. We know that at this pace, in just a few years, we will surpass the maximum recommended limits of 1.5 degrees Celsius and shortly thereafter even reach 3 degrees Celsius, with a high risk of arriving at a crucial point. Even if we do not reach this point of no return, it is certain that the consequences would be disastrous and precipitous measures would have to be taken at an enormous cost and with grave and intolerable economic and social effects. Although the measures that we can take now are costly, the cost will be all the more burdensome the longer we wait. Let us finally admit that it is a human and social problem on a number of levels. For this reason, it calls for the involvement on the part of all. There are no lasting changes without cultural changes, without a maturing of lifestyles and convictions within society. And there are no cultural changes without personal changes. May those taking part in the conference be strategists capable of considering the common good and the future of their children, more than the short-term interests of certain countries or businesses. In this way, may they demonstrate the nobility of politics and not its shame. To the powerful, I can only repeat this question. What would induce anyone at this stage to hold on to power only to be remembered for their inability to take action when it was urgent and necessary to do so? International negotiations cannot make significant progress due to the positions taken by countries which place their national interests above the global common goods. Those who will have to suffer the consequences of what we are trying to hide will not forget this failure of conscience and responsibility. Activists from very different countries help and support one another and can end up pressuring the sources of power. It is to be hoped that this will happen with respect to the climate crisis. For this reason, I reiterate that unless citizens control political power, national, regional, and municipal, it will not be possible to control damage to the environment. It is not a matter of replacing politics, but of recognizing that the emerging forces are becoming increasingly relevant and are in fact capable of obtaining important results in the resolution of concrete problems. At the same time, I cannot deny that it is necessary to be honest and recognize that the most effective solutions will not come from individual efforts alone, but above all, from major political decisions on the national and international level. So where does this lead? And how does he end his encyclical? Get this. This is the last statement of the whole document. This is his punchline. It ends abruptly after this. But notice what he calls for to conclude this matter. If we consider that emissions per individual in the United States are about 2 times greater than those of individuals living in China, and about 7 times greater than the average of the poorest countries, we can state that a broad change in the irresponsible lifestyle connected with the Western model would have significant long-term impacts. As a result, along with the indispensable political decisions, we would be making progress along the way to genuine care for one another. What do we see here in the Pope's final call for action? He calls the world, yes, but who does he mention in particular to act? The United States. He is calling for the United States to take urgent action and lead the way to worldwide change. Why is this significant? Well, it seems the sea beast is commanding the land beast to take urgent action and lead the charge. The Pope here is putting the ball in the United States' hand by asking them to act now on behalf of the Western societies and the world. Now, is this prophetic or what? We know the Bible says that the United States will lead the world in the implementation of the mark of the beast. Is this where this is leading? Speaking of the United States, the Bible says in Revelation 13, starting from verse 11, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth." This here is referring to the United States. "And he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence and causes the earth and those who dwell on it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." Now this first beast here is the Roman Catholic papacy. Now, going back and talking about the United States again, it says in verse 13, "He performs great signs so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." Are we about to see the fulfillment of these words? Is that what is going on here? Is the United States soon to establish an image to the beast, that is, laws regarding worship which promote papal teaching? This is what we need to be watching for. Though it may seem hard to fathom, we are told this is what is going to happen. The Bible declares that soon our world is going to be turned completely upside down. Talking about these tremendous times, Jesus says in Matthew 24:31, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be." And Paul adds in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, "For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labour pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape." A storm is coming, but we don't need to be afraid. Jesus wants to protect us through it. He wants to save us. He wants to carry us through this time so we can spend eternity with him. But we need to develop our personal relationship with Jesus right now. We need to be spending time with God daily through prayer and Bible study. This is the key. Don't fix your eyes on the Pope or the scientists or the leaders of this world. Instead, fix your eyes upon Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. It is time to get our hands on the Word of God and cherish its messages. You see, a relationship with God and an understanding of the Bible is our only safeguards for what we are about to face.